Hey friend, great to see you today. I wanted to share with you a little series that I often use when I'm traveling. So either air travel, car travel, train. Anyone travel by train anymore? Maybe, it's kind of fun. So what this little Pilates-based mat series is aimed to do is just kind of combat all of that sitting. So when we're sitting, we're not only flexing at our hip joint, we're also kind of shortening the backs of the knees. The feet can get a little grumpy, upper back can get a little grumpy. You kind of just sort of do a general little release out of everything and then work on engaging the back of the body, opening the chest a little bit and just getting things kind of mobilized. So I've been known to do this series in hotel rooms, campsites, in my tent if the weather's bad. So I do find if you're traveling, it's really great to grab a couple props and just stay consistent in your practice. So what we're going to be using today is a pinky ball. Very portable, very lightweight, can really easily fit into your suitcase or backpack. And then some kind of stretchy Theraband. You could definitely use a loop. I just have a regular long medium weight Theraband. And again, just stuff that up and bring it in your carry-on bag wherever you're going. All right, let's get going. So we're going to start with just a nice generalized foot rollout. So kind of non-specific. So I'm going to take the ball, I'm going to bring it underneath my foot, and I'm just going to start giving it a nice little smash, okay? You know, so when you're on vacation too and you're traveling, I get it, you don't want to spend a ton of time working out. So today we're not going to be super duper specific about our form, sort of targeting things. We're just going to address the parts of the body that are most affected by all that traveling and staying stationary and seated. Okay, so I'm just kind of ironing out the bottom of the foot like I'm kneading some dough. And then I'm going to place the heel down. The ball will be right underneath the ball of my foot so the toes are free. And I'm just going to give the toes a little curl. And I'm keeping my heel down and then I'm pitching a little bit forward. So I'm a little tight in my calves today. So I'm actually starting to feel, I'll go a little side view, a little pull kind of right in this area, sort of opening up that bottom part of the calf muscle. It's called your soleus muscle, okay? And then this one could be a little tricky on the ball. It's doable. If you want to go for a regular calf stretch as opposed to the variation that I'm going to give you right now, go for it. But I'm going to go ahead and keep my foot, I'll go other view, keep my foot onto the ball. If you need the wall for balance or something, go ahead and take it. And I'm just going to step my other foot a little bit forward. Ooh, I already start to feel a really nice long calf stretch. And I'm choosing to do this way so I'm upright against gravity. It changes the load profile a little bit on the stretch in the calf, and it starts to open up the back of that knee, which can get really crunchy and kind of tight when we've been sitting for long periods of time. I'm just going to hang out a little bit. It can even move a little. You could also do this with a rolled up towel. You could roll up your yoga mat. If you have a yoga block, a book, you know, just something where you get the ball of the foot up and the heel down and then shift your weight forward. Okay, quite enough of that. Let's go to the other side. Ball sticking to my foot. Okay, so you're gonna just do a nice little generalized foot rollout. Kind of thinking about like big toe line, sort of those middle toe line, middle of the foot, pinky toe, and giving the foot some really nice deep pressure. So I'm one of those people that like immediately when I get into a car for a long drive, or even if I'm on an airplane, like shoes are off so I can wiggle my toes. I know not everyone does that. I do find it to be helpful with traveling just to keep moving the feet around, keep that blood flow going through the lower part of the body, the lower leg. But if you do wear shoes, you know, that's your choice, totally fine. But the feet can get kind of swollen and a little sort of bunched up. So after you're done sitting, after that long plane ride or car ride, make sure to get those feet out of those shoes, wiggle those toes, roll them out a little bit, do a little foot action. You'll feel so much better, I promise. Okay, that's it. And then I'm going to bring the heel down. My knee is slightly bent. I'm curling my toes around, and then I'm just going to lean a little bit forward. So I'm starting to open up through the ankle. Here we go. Getting a little mobilization through those metatarsals, through those toes. Good. And then I'll just stay at this view so you can get a slightly different feel. I'm going to keep my ball of the foot onto the ball. And then, ooh, this side's even a little tighter. So I can't step was quite far forward on this side. So this is another nice thing about this stretch. to sort of grade the stretch or to sort of feel where you are, your foot may be here, that may be quite enough. You could be quite far forward. The further forward you go with your free leg, not the one that's on the ball, but that free leg, the more pull you get on the back leg. And there's a little balance challenge there. And I'm just gonna rest into it. Just trying to feel my spine nice and tall, breathing. Good, okay, let's make our way down onto the mat or floor or carpet or wherever you are in the world. And then we're gonna start to roll out the tush a little bit. Okay, so those muscles that have probably gotten a little smashed on that car or plane ride. So I'm just bringing the ball center of one tush cheek and I'm just gonna roll around. Okay, so what I'm aiming to do here is, even though you might get quite a bit of sensation, this isn't really about, you know, changing the muscles or molding them or anything. It's just kind of simply just giving those muscles some sensation. Okay, so when we've been sitting, we kind of smash that musculature in the back of the body, they can actually become a little desensitized. So what we're doing here is we're giving them a little wake up, okay? And we also are giving the fascia, that myofascial layer, a little bit of hydration, a little bit of mush. And so if you find a spot that feels particularly interesting, you can stay there and give that same leg a little wiggle. Good, and then maybe find a different spot. Little wiggle. And maybe one more spot, little wiggle, short and sweet. And then come down, let's go the other side. Okay, so that's plenty of load for me today on that ball. Just kind of opening the knee out to the side. If you feel like you need more, this isn't doing very much, you can cross the ankle over the knee. Ooh, hello. Too much today for this tush over here on camera. So I'm just gonna kind of continue to mush around. And anything is really fair game here. I do want to try to kind of avoid any bones, you know, but not a super big deal. If you kind of roll over one, you're not going to hurt yourself. It just doesn't feel very pleasant. And then again, if you find something that feels, oh, okay, hey, that's interesting. I'm going to stay there and a little roly-poly. Good, and maybe another spot. Ooh, hey, hello, a little closer to my sacrum. That's really interesting. Good, and then one more. That's it. Okay, thank you, pinky ball. So those are the only two little releases I'm gonna do today. I'm just gonna put that off into the corner. Hopefully it won't roll back and say hello to me. We're gonna come down onto our backs. I'm just gonna have my band handy. I'm gonna put it off to the side so you can see. Simply gonna rest onto the floor, feeling how gravity is starting to decompress the spine. Some easy pelvic tilts. So starting to mobilize that low back. And focusing a little bit more on the tipping forward. Oh, that feels good. Okay, so, you know, those seats, I don't know, whoever designed those car seats and those plane seats, they tend to make us tuck under. So they tend to make the tailbone kind of go like this when we're in a seated position, which can do some not so happy things to our low back and to our pelvis. So I'm actually going to concentrate on kind of moving my pelvis in the opposite direction to tolerance. So restoring a little bit more of that natural lumbar curve. Good. And then just finding the midpoint between those two places. I'm going to reach one knee forward and the other knee forward. Whatever knee is reaching forward, that side of the pelvis will come up a little bit off the floor. So we're getting this nice little rocking action, which I always find feels quite lovely in the low back. It's also starting to introduce a little bit of spiralic action through the spine. Let's do a couple more. And then just some nice juicy pelvic clacks. Again, really focusing on the bottom parts. We get that hip crease, that feeling that we're restoring a little bit of that natural curve in the lumbar spine and then reversing direction. And you can see I'm being a little sloppy about it. I want to get as many parts moving, so my head is starting to get involved. I'm not too worried about my arms and my shoulders. I'm just finding that nice little rolling action. Okay, let's go ahead and take the band. We're going to take the band, we're going to loop it around one foot. Okay, and we're actually gonna do a little work on the feet here. So I'm gonna make sure that my toes are more or less kind of gathered inside the band. I'm gonna bend my elbows, and then I'm gonna point and flex my foot for 10. So again, opening up that calf muscle. With the leg elevated, we're getting a little venous drainage. Okay, so a lot of times when the feet are lower than our heart for a really, really long period of time, it can produce a little bit of swelling, a little feeling of puffiness in the ankle and the feet. So we're getting the feet really elevated so we can kind of get all that fluid, that lymph, that blood, all that stuff to sort of encourage it back towards the heart, which can really help with swelling, with that feeling of achiness in the feet. And then pumping that, so we're getting the muscles to start to act like a little pump there. And let's do a couple circles in each direction with the foot. If the knee's bent, cool, whatever. That's okay. Hamstrings may feel a little grumpy if you've been sitting for a long period of time. Let's reverse that direction. Good. And 3, 2, and 1. Then we're gonna pump through that hamstring a little. So I'm gonna bend the knee. Notice I'm not pulling the knees so far into the chest that the pelvis comes up. I'm trying to keep my tailbone kind of anchored and then push. Bend, so a bit of dynamic stretching through the back of the leg. I'm really feeling my heel reaching up to the ceiling. Let's go for 4. And 3. And 2. And 1. Good, simple. Switch over to the other side. Oh, got a little shin calf burn there. That feels good. Ooh, this side's fun. And we're gonna point and flex. So not a ton of tension, but enough where you feel a little bit of resistance, a little bit of work. About 10 points and flexes. Getting those toes involved. Don't forget about the toes when you point. Get that nice even curl into the band. Good, and then about 5 circles in each direction. Again, getting the toes involved, nice expressive toes. My band is doing a little snap, crackle, pop. It's okay, and then reverse. Again, your leg can be down here. Knee can be bent. It's all good. See what your body needs today. And then we're gonna pump through the back of the leg a little bit, bending, and then push the heel skyward. I'm also thinking about pressing my thigh bone away from my pelvis, but keeping my heel efforting towards the ceiling, and that just gives a lot of space through the hip joint. And push. Let's do 3. And 2. And 1. Good. Coming down, I'm going to double up my band. Go ahead and bring one foot forward. So I'm in this 90 degree position, which is such a great place to open up through those hip flexors. We're going to get a little upper back work going on. I'm going to take my band and I'm going to bring it around the front of my shin. So I'm growing up tall. I'm not looking for a huge stretch here, just more the feeling of openness. And then I'm going to pull my band back for 5. Little chest expansion. 4. 3, and 2, and 1. From there, I'm going to take the band forward with a fair amount of tension. I'm going to reach, so for me, I have my right leg back. My right arm is going to stay forward, really held in space. I'm going to pull my left elbow, finding a rotation, and then coming back. So this movement is also starting to sort of pattern in a larger way what happens when we walk. It's a cross-lateral pattern. It also is promoting a little bit of hip extension through that back leg, so opening through the front of the hip. Yeah, so if you've been sitting for a long period of time, just kind of telling the body, this is what we do when we locomote through space. And one more. Okay, short and sweet. Let's go to the other side. Stepping the opposite foot forward, finding that position where you're getting a little openness through the hips, tipping the pelvis slightly up so pubic bone is kind of efforting towards the sky. All right, and then we're gonna pull back and forward. Back, scissoring those inner thighs together, using that power from the back of the legs that we just found in our bridging sequence. 2, 1, good, and then choking up a little bit more onto that band, a little more tension. I'm gonna think about reaching my left arm forward as I pull my right elbow back and rotate. Okay, so you could, ooh, hello balance. So you might be on a different side than me, that's fine. You just want to think that you're rotating towards the knee that's in front. So you're creating that cross-lateral pattern. You can also think about it as rotating away from the leg that's back. And 2. And 1. Okay, full thigh stretch. Yay. Just 5 times. So again, I'm going to choke up a little bit on the band so there's not a ton of slack. I'm going to pull the band apart so I feel that plugging in of the shoulders. I'm going to rock back and forward. So giving those quads some work to do in a long position. 3 more. And in. And 2. And 1. Releasing the strap just a little bit so you have a little bit more width. Okay, you're going to stay in this kneeling position if that's available to you. And then same as we did lying on the ground, you're going to open the arms and coming back in, starting to say hello to that upper back again. And then keep pulling up the front of the pelvis, dropping the ribs down, pushing the hips forward. 3. And 2. And 1. I'm going to go ahead and take the band kind of behind me on my back. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to come down onto the floor, onto my tummy. And then I'm going to separate my legs about hip distance apart, maybe mat distance apart. If you don't have a mat, you might need a different reference point for how wide. Really what feels good to you. And then I'm going to grab the band with my palms facing up towards the ceiling. So for my body proportions, the band is kind of somewhere around my hips or my tush. I'm going to stretch my legs long. Again, pulling the band apart just a little bit so I feel a little bit of resistance there, not a ton. And I'm going to lift up and down. Lifting up. Good. And down. Using that length that we just found through the front of the hips, through those quadriceps, really pushing the pelvis into the mat as you lift the chest. Let's do 2 more. Good. 1 more. And then up and down with the arms for 6. 5. Keep pulling the band apart. 4. 3. 2. 1. Let the band go. Separate your legs, possibly even a little bit wider if that feels comfortable. Take your hands somewhere around where your shoulders are. We're just going to do a nice little, almost passive extension, just rolling up as high as feels comfortable. Let that tummy stretch. Let those hips stretch. Push the crown of the head to the ceiling and roll down. So again, this is the range that feels good to my body today. What's the range that feels good to your body today? Less interested in the shape, more interested in the experience of the movement. Make it feel good. A little arm work there too. And down. And 1 more. Okay, so after this, we're really going to resist the urge to press back directly into child's pose. I know it's tempting. Going to come into an all fours position. And then we're just going to start to crawl the arms way far forward. So this is almost like I call it like a downward facing puppy position, some people call it. So it's not a full down dog, but you're going to arc the tail up to the ceiling. Your forehead may find the floor, and instead of just resting the elbows, really actively push the floor away. Feel the ribs kind of lifting off of the pelvis. Get that decompression. Breathe. Push that floor away. Keep it going. And then take your hands a little more underneath your shoulders, and let's actually press and just finish with a nice, easy twist. So taking the arms to a goalpost or a letter T position, hug the knees into the chest, take the knees over to one side. I'm going to scoot my tush in the opposite direction and put your top hand on the top knee. And just breathe. snap, crackle, pop. That's okay. And then just simply taking a moment to stretch the legs long. And again, feeling that length through the front of the hips. If you want to interlace your hands, kind of reach them up overhead and just get that full body length, letting gravity act on your spine so it's kind of pushing down to make it longer. Feel the fingers and the heels reaching away from each other. Let the ribs drop. Big inhale. Exhale. Let the arms soften, and then if you are in full vacation mode, just stay here and kind of do a little like Pilates-ish Shavasana situation. If you got to get up and go, do some sightseeing, go for it. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. I'll see you next time. Take good care. Bye.